Standby, please.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It is 1:30, y'all. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. It is that time of the week again where we get to all come together and share the awesomeness that is Metro. So welcome, welcome, everybody. And speaking of welcome, Evie, can you throw that slide up for our new folks that have joined us?
One second, let me go to the slide.
You're good.
Here we go. There you go, sir.
All right. Thank you, Evie. So we've got two amazing people to welcome. We have Cayenne, just like the pepper, that is here right now. There we go. Recording in progress. So if you guys see Cayenne around, please welcome her. We also have Abby Edwards who's joined us. So Abby, I know you can't tell by the photo there, but you'll get to know her soon. So welcome her if you see her in the office or on the inner office page. So welcome guys to the family. So next, one of my favorite parts of doing this team meeting is the bucket fills. So let's fill some buckets, y'all. Let's do it. What do we got?
I would like to thank Paul and Tolentino for taking my crap every time I see him at the gym. We keep razzing each other back and forth of where we are in transactions and volume, and it really keeps me motivated. So thanks, Paul.
Love it. Thank you, Nikki, and thank you, Paul. What else we got for bucket fills, guys?
Got to give Shara a shout out too for Mega Camp. My registration got hung up and she was able to help me with that. So very much thank you on that, Sarah.
Awesome. Lots of love. Do we have some more? We have time for more love, guys. I ain't going to put a cap on the love that we're about to give. So if y'all got more, let's hear it.
I want to give a shout out to Nikki Francis for standing in for me at a broker meeting with STMLS this week and learning all about what you guys want in the MLS moving forward. And I appreciate that very much. I hope you got a lot out of it, but I hope you were able to give input about what you guys want in your MLS.
Love you. Thank you, BB. Appreciate that. We got time for some more. We got any more? Come on, Metro.
I want to give a shout out to Ed Belinky, Movement Mortgage, and the team. They're awesome.
Love it. Thank you. Yeah, Eddie B and the team are great. Love them. Thank you, guys. How about some celebrations? Do we have any celebrations to add to the table of bucket fills?
I want to celebrate. I was going through the regional count, and I know we all see like the top tier that gets posted, but I'm doing a little pour through to celebrate all of you because there's a solid, I want to say 20 of us from Metro who are showing up in different categories in the top 20s. So look out for the top 20 postings coming in all the different categories, groups and teams, and listings sold and buyer sales and all that good stuff. You guys are rocking this year, and I'm super proud of you all for doing it.
I second that 100%. Amazing job, team. Amazing job. Any last celebrations before we head over to the launch and growth spotlight? All right. So we're going to dive right into it. So Broker Bob, what's up, my friend?
Thank you, Mike. Hey, we want to recognize people in the coaching program, both launch and growth, that are doing great things. Who's my daddy? Paul Tolentino. He's doing so good. He's going to take care of me in the next year because he closes an escrow every week. My favorite little daddy, Paul Tolentino, closed an escrow, a referral from another local SC agent. He's celebrating that in growth. He also opened an escrow in his listing. Eric Harris in growth opened up another escrow, and this is all on Team Alicia, by the way. And our Boston transplant Russ Brachulius took a $1.25 million listing over a year and a year of follow-ups. Talk about high C in demand, consistency. And then Cleo Jones took her a new listing in launch, and on Team Clarissa, Carlos Martinez opened his first escrow in launch. And that's all you're going to hear from me until we get to the risk management portion. So back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Robert. So next we have our amazing A+ escrow. So is Justin in the house today? I didn't see, but are you here, Justin? Or Bob? Or nobody? I don't know. His wall's right next to mine, so I might just knock on the wall real quick. All right, so A+ escrow. Okay, let's do some property pitches, y'all. What do we got? Or have they already sold? Come on. All right. So I guess we're just selling all the properties, which is great. So I'm not going to complain about that, but we just got more time, which is fine with me. So,
Hey.
there she is.
Okay,
up,
hi.
Andrea?
I don't have, it's not my listing, but I am assisting. Okay, I'm a poet. I didn't know it. So I'd like to promote this event / open house that I am helping to promote. And it is this Saturday and Sunday. It's at in University Heights, 4449 Hamilton Street, number 7. It's a 2-bed, 2-bath, and it's listed at just under 500,000. So there you go.
Wow. That should sell like hotcakes. Under 500,000 in San Diego. That's kind of few and far between, as we know, right? So awesome. Thank you, Andrea. Do we have any more that we want to pitch out right now? We got some time.
You guys have 24 hours left on Lakeside. If you want to take a look at it, it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with 2 flexible bedroom or optional bedrooms and a loft sitting on 1 full acre of land. So plenty of room for 3 RVs plus an ADU. We are dropping $25,000 today till the end of the day if anybody from Metro has a buyer. Otherwise, we will be going into negotiations and closing on an offer tomorrow.
Awesome. So 24 hours, guys. You heard Nikki. So let's get it in if you can. All right. Any other pitches, whether it is a listing or a buyer, guys, because we got some time for some buyer needs. We know we got buyers. So what do we got?
Okay, sorry, I'm driving this when my camera's off. Are looking for minimum 3-bed up to a 4-bed in like Chula Vista, Spring Valley. They work in Mission Valley, so kind of anywhere down here. And their max is like 600, 610. So I know it's going to be a little bit difficult. So if anybody has anything, 3 or 4 beds, single family, Chula Vista, Spring Valley, anything like that, and are willing to do it off market, please let me know so that I can show it to them.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. We got time for some more, y'all. What do we got? Buyers, let's get them into escrow, guys. We know that the off markets work and we know working together works. So let's do some more of that. What do we got? Let's put some deals together.
Got a buyer looking for 2, 3, or 4. They're looking for a 4-plex to replace that adorable Polk listing that'll be coming up in North Park. If you've got anything in terms of duplex, triplex, or quads, let me know.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Perfect. So I see, let's see here. So Joe, are you here right now? Or are you just, I can read it if you're not here. But we got a coming soon from Mr. Acosta. That is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in Talmadge, 460, 2-car tandem garage, 2 patios, 1 balcony, and washer and dryer in the unit. So if that doesn't sell you, I don't know what will, guys. Come on, let's do it. All right, y'all. Any other ones before we head over to risk management with our favorite broker?
Hey, my name is Dan. New
Hey,
agent.
Dan.
I've been working, pitching an open house this weekend. It's in El Cajon. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath for $579. So that open house is this weekend, 24th and 25th. So
Awesome, 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 awesome. Love it. Thank you for sharing, Dan. I'll give one more. We got one more. We got time for one more. Let's do it if we got it.
I got a quick one for you guys.
Go ahead, JB.
All right, yeah, I have a buyer looking in the La Costa Valley or Carlsbad area, 3 or 4 bed and a max of about 1.8. So if anybody knows of anything, let me know.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Jeremy. And that looks like it's going to wrap us up. So we got a lot of good stuff that Broker Bob's going to cover today. So get ready, strap in. Here we go. Broker Bob, it's all you, buddy. Risk management. Let's do it.
Thanks, Mike. Before we continue, did Movement Mortgage, were they here?
I didn't see them on the agenda. So if are we here?
They waived their time for you, sir.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Defer
All
to
right.
you, Broker Bob.
Let's get into this. Fantastic. I got a lot of great information to share. So I'm going to share my screen to get everybody going. And just to let you know, if look what I'm reading on my computer. All about broker insider interview featuring Robert Shantz, none other than the fantastic broker Bob at KW Metro. In case you didn't read that, make sure you got it in your email yesterday. I only had one agent call me and say you're a rock star. But that's okay. I still love all of you guys. So, I thought I'd kind of make this well, I don't know if I can make this a fun one or not, but it's broker Bob. Oops, I did that backwards. Hey, I learned how to do that today. Evie, do you like that? Broker Bob's risk management for July 2021. Can everybody hear me? Okay, I'm also getting notices that my internet connection is unstable. Don't ever get AT&T in your home. No matter what they do, they'll never fix it. So here is the agenda for today. Hot topics from STAR, updated COVID protocols, our new KW Metro Open House policy, 7 mistakes you don't know you're making. That's actually the key feature of the meeting today. The use of the SUM, SUM-O car form or using command. If you don't know what that is, I'll explain it. And then Zillow purchases reminder and how to navigate that. Quick review of Mark Miller's initial review when he does an initial review in your file. And then, oops, no agent of the month. Sorry, that is a typo. So here's the major announcement. Everybody get your pen and paper out or put it in your calendar. July 31st through Sunday, August 15th. Mark those dates, please. Anybody know what that is? You want to put it in the chat box? Go ahead and let me know. Oh, by the way, Acosta, Schleif, are you on the line? Is my desktop okay today? They're always screenshotting my desktop.
That was the first thing I checked.
Yeah, everything good. Okay, just want to make sure. All right. Anybody know what those dates? Spade, you dork. You're too much. All right, now, Robert, Broker Bob, is taking his first vacation in 2.5 years. 2.5 years. Hardly any of us on the leadership team got a vacation. I know we were all in COVID and nobody really got vacations. Yet I know some people in my world in orbit got 3 or 4 in the last year. So I am at the end of my rope. I've expanded out. I've topped out. I've tapped out. I will be gone on an island, surfing, waterfalling, hiking, eating coconut and watermelon and pineapple. And I will be spending time with someone very special in my life. So how can you support me? You support me during this period? Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't email me. And definitely don't come to the island and follow me. I would appreciate that very much. We will have coverage for all your little questions, your little got a minute, hey, I need to run this by you. But this is my time to regroup. And I hope you guys can appreciate that. You all need to regroup and you all need to have downtime. And I need this downtime so bad. So the first week I will be unavailable. The second week of August, I will be semi-available because I know most of you can't all wait. But if it's urgent, legal only, that needs to be addressed right away. There will be plenty of people within our office to support you in your time of need. That's the major announcement. All right. And I appreciate the comments. Spade, are you going to be at the you-know-where with me? Okay. Updated COVID protocols. So just got off with the Department of Public Health. The Delta COVID variant is on the rise in all 50 states. 42 of the states had over 100% increase in the last 2 weeks. 83% of the new cases are the COVID variant, and 99% of the hospitalizations are from people that did not want to get the vaccination. And kids are at more risk with this COVID variant. The virus is basically here to say, good thing in San Diego we're at a 72% vaccination rate. But LA County has issued a mask mandate for everything indoors. I had 3 friends that went to Provincetown a week ago, and there was a huge COVID concern there. All three of them got COVID, and they were vaccinated. They didn't end up in the hospital, but they're sick. So the Delta variant is a major concern in the industry right now because of those 25 Yahoo crackers that did not get vaccinated, and we end up in another shutdown because the health system is at a max. We're going to probably be in another fourth round of COVID waves. So eat that for a little bit and digest it, okay? Think about another shutdown. You know, the Bible says, what does the Bible say? It says a lot of stuff. I wrote this one down.
What? That's new.
It says something, Nancy, you know the Bible, about doing, love thy neighbor as thyself. Love thy neighbor as thyself. That's the quote I was thinking of. You would love your neighbor by protecting everybody else. So I can't make you get a vaccine, but I can make you come into our office and wear a mask. So we're back on the masks in the office, everybody, until we get through this next few weeks, until we see what it is. And I'm sorry to have to do that. It's what I have to do. So I have to protect my staff. I don't want them getting sick, even though 99% have been vaccinated. And the other one is going to go this week and get it done. Okay, I have to make the hard calls because I don't want to do another shutdown like we did last year, and then we'll all be in trouble. Okay. 7 mistakes you don't, now let's get into the fun stuff. All right, got the COVID out of the way. 7 mistakes you don't know that you've been making. Okay. I'm going to drop this into the chat box so you can all have access to this. Google Doc. And I've gone over this before, but I think it warrants to go over it again. Mistake number 1, listing agents not accepting a subsequent offer contingent upon cancellation of prior escrow and contract. So the first escrow fell through and the seller canceled. Now the seller wants to accept another offer from a subsequent buyer, but there's a problem. Even though the seller signed the cancellation, it takes the buyer and the seller to cancel the escrow. Both people have to sign off on it. So the prudent advice that an agent have is to always give the sellers accept any subsequent offer contingent on cancellation of prior contract and escrow. Worst case scenario, you can't cancel the previous escrow and then you get into a new escrow and you can't deliver to the new buyer, then you'll put the seller at risk for that. So you would use the backup offer addendum for this purpose if you want to. And if the seller chooses not to accept a subsequent offer contingent on cancellation of prior contract and escrow, then the agent must recommend that they obtain legal advice from legal counsel. Okay? So your responsibility is to guide them through that. If you have a cancellation, make sure you get the buy side to sign off on the escrow as well too, and make that fully executed. Any questions on that? Great. Removal of contingencies with the RR and the RRRR forms. Okay. The request for repairs, the RR form, requires that the buyer remove their physical inspection contingency as a condition of the seller agreeing to repairs. However, it's prudent for the seller to require the buyer to remove more than just the physical inspection contingency. The seller should also consider having the buyer remove all investigation contingencies. Otherwise, the seller could be obligated to make repairs while the buyer still retains a fairly broad-based cancellation right based upon other inspections or other matters off-site which affect the property. To accomplish this in the RR form, the first box under II of the seller response should be checked to add the contingency removal form, and in the seller response and buyer reply to the request RRRR form, the equivalent language is found in paragraph 2B in the seller response section. I'm not going to bring that up, but on the attached contingency removal form, the seller may consider, among other things, having the buyer remove all buyer investigations other than the physical inspection by checking box 284. So basically what you want to do is to get the buyer to remove every inspection contingency. Otherwise, they can come back and still cancel based upon that. Okay? Any questions on that one? Okay. Advertising square footage
Wait,
without...
so they can still do all these repairs and the sale could fall through?
If they did not remove all inspections.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Okay. Advertising square footage without citing the source. This is one that gets agents in a lot of trouble. And Nikki, verify with me, you guys talked about that yesterday, but making sure that the MLS states what's in the tax roll records. That is the safest because it's our get out of free jail card that we're only citing what's in public records. Many MLSs do this automatically, but in our MLS, it allows you to do tax records, seller at the source, or blueprints, or whatever. So make sure that you are, whenever you're citing who you're citing, you label that in the MLS. And if there's a discrepancy, you make sure you put that in the confidential remarks as well too. And an agent should also avoid measuring square footage themselves. You're not appraisers. Okay. Here's one that gets agents into a lot of trouble. Providing assurances to a client. So what does that look like? It's always natural that you guys want to allay all the fears that a client has, but the fact is there are many risks inherent in the process of buying and selling property, and no one, not even an experienced agent, can accurately predict the outcome. If you don't believe that, hang around with some attorneys. Attorneys will twist anything to make a case. So for example, the client may want to be reassured that they will get their earnest money deposit back when exercising the cancellation right. The car standard purchase agreements provide broad contingency rights, and the contingencies are active, meaning they are in effect until removed in writing, but this does not guarantee that a buyer will get their EMD back. Sometimes these disputes drag out, and it is even possible that they end up in court or arbitration. Not every judge or arbiter will decide the issue of who is entitled to the EMD, as the contract technically requires it. Even when the terms of the contract favor the buyer, you never know for sure that the buyer will win their claim in court if it ends up there. Another example, suppose the client asks whether the neighborhood is safe. An agent might naturally seek to reassure the client that, of course, the neighborhood is safe. But a more considered response should be taken. First, disclose to the buyer your own personal knowledge of any criminal activity of which you are aware, only if you're aware. Perceptions of crime can be quite different from one individual to the next, and merely answering that a neighborhood is or isn't safe isn't going to depend on the process. Explain that police in cities often maintain crime statistics, and you can even offer to obtain such information yourself. But following the approach to square footage discussed previously, be sure to cite the source of the information. So in other words, if you get the information, cite where you're getting it. It disclaim that you or your brokerage have verified the information. Okay, so assurances to a client, where else could that end up? This is the lender you should use. This is the home inspector you should use. They're the best. Yes, that foundation can be repaired. Or yes, you can add on a second story. Or yes, don't worry, if you'll get your earnest money deposit back no matter what happens. Never ever say that, because you don't know what the seller is going to do to hold things up if there's a dispute. The seller, again, when you go back to, it takes one person technically to cancel a contract. It takes two people to cancel an escrow. So until both parties agree to sign those escrow cancellations, that escrow remains open, and that escrow deposit remains with the escrow company, and the escrow company is unable to release that deposit they have to hold on to it, and they will not release it because then they could be held liable. We do it all the time. We want to be really good agents, and we think that they hire us for our real estate acumen and we're knowledgeable at everything. But be sure not to be the authority on everything. My favorite agent in regards to not providing assurances that I've heard is Sal. Sal is really an art at that because he knows exactly what he should say and what he shouldn't say, because he knows he doesn't want to end up in court, and he never has in his 17-year career with us. He's had some few wobbles, but nothing big. Okay. Any questions on that?
I have a question about the previous, the contingency removal of inspections. I just was curious about the contingency form where you're talking about, where it says buyer inspection contingency removal, and there's 3 boxes to check, and we usually check the last one or make sure the last one is checked of the 3.
Well, I don't have it in front of me, and I don't have a photographic memory of it, but on the box you should be checking remove all investigations, all buyer.
Yeah, it says entire. Is that what you were referring to? Make sure that box is checked, the entire buyer investigation.
Yes.
Okay, just double checking. Thank you, Robert.
Yep. Anything else on this? Okay, so here's one you might not know about. Not realizing that the liquidated damage provision may limit the seller's recovery. So listing agents, listen up on this. Why do you want to get a 3% deposit of the purchase price? To protect your sellers in case the buyer is in breach of the agreement. And this is the biggest thing on the legal hotline. They always get that scenario. A buyer has breached the contract and the seller expects to collect damages, but the amount of the deposit is low, perhaps as low as $1,000. The listing agent will explain to us that the seller has incurred more than $1,000 in damage. Then we have to give the bad news. In a standard residential sale where the buyer will take occupancy, by law, the seller will very likely only be entitled to the amount of the deposit. So a seller should understand the effect of the liquidated damage provision, which caps it at 3%, but it also caps it primarily with how much of the deposit is in there. When initialed by both buyer and seller, the liquidated damage provision will limit the seller's claim for damages to the amount deposited in escrow. Now, it's perfectly all right for the seller to accept a contract with a low EMD, but the seller should also be made aware that the low deposit will necessarily limit the amount of money they can claim. So if you are representing a seller and you're looking at all the offers and it's a very low deposit, you need to guide your seller through that process about liquidated damages, what it means. And if there's ever a scenario where the buyer is breach of the agreement and the seller's incurred damages, they're limited to that low deposit that they may or may not be accepting, or they might accept. And if you don't guide them through that, guess what? They could have a claim against you. And that's where then they would make a claim against you where you would have to make that up. Not at our brokerage, but it happened at another brokerage with blue logo in this county. The agent had to give up their entire commission. And it was like a $30,000 commission. It was a multi-million-dollar deal. So in other words, they got it back in escrow with somebody else, and then in order for the seller not to sue the agent had to pay up that money. So that's a big amount to pay. Any questions on that one? Countering with highest and best. Oh, this will get a listing agent in trouble. A seller sometimes signs a counter asking for the buyer's highest and best. Now, this scenario is in a single counteroffer, not a multiple, a single counteroffer. Okay? The problem with this language is not immediately obvious, but it will become so when the buyer accepts with their highest and best and then claims that there is now a binding contract at that price. This claim seemed laughable at first, but in fact, such claims have shown up in court. What should the listing agent's approach be? There's nothing wrong with asking the buyer for their highest and best. Just don't put it in writing. Don't write a counteroffer with the words highest and best. Instead, call up the buyer's agent and explain that the seller would like to see a counter with the buyer's highest and best. In fact, as a standard of practice, the less you put in writing, it's not enforceable, right? But anything in a contract is enforceable. It's why 45 never did email or text. Just saying. Note that this issue does not arise if the seller uses the multiple counteroffer form. Then the highest and best language is just fine, since the seller must re-sign any counter returned from the buyer before a binding contract is created. Now, in the chat box, did anybody learn something new on that one? Did you know that or not know that? Surreal says new. And everybody else is afraid to say. Team Vinny, Terry did not know that.
Can I just speak up and say I'm still kind of a little bit confused? Can you explain it one more time?
On the countering highest and best?
Yeah. Why, if it's 1%, I'm sorry, I just didn't quite understand.
So if it's a single, if the seller is countering back to just one offer, and all they put in that counteroffer was highest and best. If the buyer counters back highest and best, and they put it in that counteroffer, the claim is, and it ends up in court, that there's a fully executed agreement, because all they asked for was the buyer's highest and best, and this buyer will go, here it is. And by the way, the buyer's highest and best could be the original purchase price that they asked for. Bet you didn't know that. So then you have a binding contract. If they don't counter anything else in that counteroffer, and all they say is highest and best because everything else looked good, you've got a fully executed agreement with that seller. And if that seller decides to not accept it, buyer can go to court and demand that it be accepted. Does that make sense, Sarah?
Yes, that does make sense, because you're saying if the original amount was the highest and best, they're going to, or quote unquote, they could assume that now they're going into contract because the counter is just, yes, this is it. And you're saying, yep, that was it. Okay, got it.
So here's a little good thing for you buyer's agents in this market. If you are getting a counteroffer, not a multiple, but a counteroffer, single counteroffer back from an offer you submitted, and all that stupid listing agent did, because they don't work at KW Metro and they don't know Broker Bob and they don't know risk management and they don't listen, pay attention, and all they did was put highest and best, sign that counteroffer, send it back, you've got a fully executed deal at the purchase price you wanted it. Okay?
And Broker Bob, the reason that this is only for a single one is because when you do the seller multiple counteroffer, there's already language to cover the fact that there's more than one offer and needs to be accepted, correct?
Yeah, because the seller has to countersign that counteroffer that comes back.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's a little trick that can help you guys get more escrows if you're the only one in the running whenever we get back to only one offer came in. Might even be for a home that's overpriced, right? And nobody's made an offer on it, but your buyer likes it. And let's say it's priced at $750 and you make an offer for $700 and they like all the other terms. And then the dumb bunny listing agent counters back just to you, highest and best, sign that puppy, get it back. And we'll go to court to get that buyer that house at that price you submitted it with. And the judge will probably rule in the buyer's favor. Okay. But don't make guarantees. Don't make any insurances. Remember that. Okay. And here's one that is Mark's arch nemesis. Happens all the time, and we talk about it all the time. Taking a listing in a trust the wrong way. You're all excited. You have a new listing and missed that the title of the property was held in a trust and you did not fill out the RLA correctly. And now escrow has to make changes. Did you realize that now you have an invalid listing agreement? Follow the simple handout that Broker Bob and Mark has put together, and you will look like the true professional. Here's another good thing to remember. On a purchase side, always ask the buyer if they plan on putting the property in the name of a trust or LLC and not an individual before you write the contract. Because if you write it in the name of an individual and they later decide they want to put it into an LLC or trust, then the buyer has to re-sign every document, including escrow documents and disclosures and every purchase agreement documents, everything, all over again in the name of the trust, because the trust is the only person obligated with the authority to buy on behalf of the trust or the LLC. Okay. All right. Any questions on that? We have made a very simple guide to help you take a listing in the name of a trust. And Mark and I are always there to help you do that. I won't be, though, July 31st or August 14th. Remember that. Okay.
I have a question, Robert.
Yes.
I wrote an offer, and in the field where the name of the seller is on the public records, it said a name. It did not say trust. When I got the seller counter offer back, it said the name of the owner was so-and-so family trust. So I looked back in the public records, and lower in the area where it says vesting, it said family trust, but there was nowhere that it said so-and-so family trust, as we usually see in, when they bought it and those kinds of things that had changed. None of that. So in that case, do I send over the trust advisory at that point?
Well, the listing agent has already corrected the offer situation by incorporating the name of the trust in the purchase agreement documents. So you could send the trust advisory, but it's just an advisory at that point. But yeah, you would. Mark will have it included. But the listing agent did the right thing. A smart listing agent.
Okay. Of course.
Robert?
Yes.
So my clients, they're going to purchase from a trust, but the trust isn't formed yet. And a retired real estate attorney is a friend of mine, suggested using the language, buyer can assign the purchase agreement to the trust. Anytime before escrow closes, buyer can assign purchase agreement to the blank name of trust when the trust gets formed.
Well, I appreciate that attorney's legal advice. That might work for him. It doesn't work for us in regards to logistics of our compliance process and procedures, because the buyer would still have to go back and re-sign everything. And then the seller would also have to agree to that. You can put it in the purchase agreement, but the seller has to agree to it. You don't know if a seller will agree to it, because then they have to redo all their stuff on their end. Escrow has to redo everything. It's a major pain in the butt. And attorneys only say that because they're paid by the hour. Sorry if there's any attorneys on the phone. So they would love you to do it that way. But then your TC has to do extra work. Mark has to do extra work. Escrow has to do extra work. Title has to do extra work, all over. The best way is, if you don't have the trust formed, then just buy it in the name of the individual and have the buyer put it into the trust after close of escrow. Their attorney, who would like to be able to be paid, can do that for them. Buy it in the name of an individual and put it in the trust afterwards. That's the simplest. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Is that going to incur certain trust tax liabilities differently than if it was purchased from the trust?
I'm not a tax person, and I'm not a legal person. They need to speak to their attorney and their tax advisor.
I was just going to go there. It could potentially be a taxable event, and that's why they want to do it before it closes.
Yes.
But your best advice as a realtor is to tell them to seek the advice of a legal or tax professional. Okay. And then whatever that guidance is that they get from that professional, then you can, act on that.
Got it.
Okay. Keep in touch with Mark and me in regards to that.
Okay.
All right. For listing agents, you may or may not use this, but it's a great thing. It's called the Sum-O CAR form. You're getting multiple offers, and you want to present the multiple offers to your seller. And I didn't download it, but anyway, it's a great little format where it summarizes all of the offers in a 5-column format. You write in the amount, the contingency dates, the earnest money deposit. But there's another way to do it that's really good, and it's inside Command. Inside your opportunities, you can upload all those offers, and then you can compare all the offers and send them to your seller to look at them. But here's the really good thing. We need to have all those offers in your compliance review, and it's the #1 thing that Mark asks for a lot and doesn't get. All the offers that you did not receive, because we need those offers in case we ever have to defend your actions, because there might be a grievance or a claim filed against you that you did not entertain their offer. So we need to show and have proof that we did. Here's the process we followed. So we can do a training on that, and we have training on that, on how to review offers inside Command for your seller. And at the same time, it takes care of the compliance process that will make it easier for you when uploading documents for your review with Mark. Okay? How to navigate an offer you write for a buyer on a Zillow listing. This has been happening. And is Bridget on the phone?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So Bridget brought this to me yesterday, and you guys are all following. You're going to be writing offers on Zillow properties. And in the MLS, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong or right, Bridget, in the MLS, it states under confidential remarks, you're going to write an offer with the car purchase agreement. But in the MLS, once the agreement is accepted, you're then going to sign the Zillow purchase agreement documents. Is that what it states, Bridget?
Yes.
Okay. So here's how you navigate through that. Zillow is using non-standard car documents, which means they're different legal language that we cannot provide legal advice or input on. You can write an offer on a Zillow listing, but your fiduciary is to inform the buyer that, hey, once you get your offer accepted, Zillow's making you sign their documents that they've created. Now, I can't give you a legal interpretation of these offers, so you need to speak to a qualified real estate attorney to review these documents to make sure that there's anything that you need to be aware about. I can give you a general review, but there might be things that you are not protected that are in the car zip forms documents. And that's kind of the language you need to do, okay? They're probably going to have to sign those documents, and there's probably no way for us to get around it. And us brokers in San Diego County hate this because there's rights and remedies that are probably taken away from in those documents that the buyer could have. But you've got to get a home sold. And I'm not going to deny you that says you can't take a buyer to show them. It's where the market is. We'll navigate through it. Okay?
We have, brought this up, not we, our brokerage, but other brokerages have brought this up to CAR leadership and the legal team, and they say that they're working on some guidance, like a quick guide on how to manage these offers. And I think behind the scenes, they're actually talking to some of these entities, saying, hey, you still have to follow federal law about the TDS and ABID and those types of things. So, but it's been reported, and we have to kind of wait and see what happens with CAR.
And it's not just Zillow, it's all these other platforms that are buying stuff as well, too, in San Diego. Thank you, Bridget, for bringing that.
Anytime.
All right. And then, of course, she replied back to our email. It was like, I don't want to have to tell my buyer to go see an attorney. They're going to have to pay for it. Yeah, unfortunately. And it's hard for you guys to do that. I get it. It's not fun to say, hey, I know I'm your real estate agent, but I'm not an attorney, and I can't give you legal advice. And that's really what they think you are supposed to do sometimes. It's above your pay grade. And attorneys love that when they take you into court, because then remember that first thing, 7 things you don't know you're doing. One is offering advice you don't know or making assurances. That's where you get drugged in by the other side. Okay, so review of Mark's messages. I just wanted to review these again. This is an initial review that Mark will put together. This is CC'd to the agent on the transaction and the transaction coordinator. And I know most of you don't read these, but in the review, you'll see it broken out into 3 sections so that you are aware of. The top section is required missing items. In other words, agent responsibility. It's your responsibility to make sure that they're in the transaction. Now, if you're asking the TC to do it, great, they'll get it done for you, but you're responsible for overseeing it. But the TC doesn't put the CMA together or the estimated seller proceeds, okay? The next section is the broker to listing agent recommendations. It's what compliance is recommending you do through the course of the process. So it's a recommendation. It's not necessary, but it's a recommendation in most cases. And then the final thing is it's the TC to do's. You'll never have to read that if you have a TC, but it's what the TC needs to do, and they'll do it for you. So don't read the bottom. Okay? And that's our new kinder, gentler, friendlier file review to help you guys as you navigate through the transactions. Any questions on that?
Hey, Robert.
Yes.
Is there any way, can you drop a link to the trust document you talked about earlier when you were talking about trusts? Or let me know where to find it.
I'm going to drop a link into the KW Metro folder that I've ad nauseum asked everybody to bookmark, and it contains all of this wonderful information at all the time. There is one thing that I missed on the PowerPoint. I must have passed through it. But we have implemented a new policy, and this was done in conjunction with the ALC. We did this a while back, but we also know that, you know, as new people come into the industry, they're not quite aware about open house rules or etiquette, or if you're working another listing agent in our offices or any other agent on the outside, etiquette about how do you do an open house and what are some of the general guidelines that you should follow. So doing an open house for another agent, it's a privilege with this inventory shortage. So if you get one of our listing agents, one of our agents in our office with a listing that has allowed you to go to that listing and do an open house, you need to be grateful for it, because they're allowing you, because they are basically they're fiduciaries to the seller. So they're trusting you as if you're the listing agent to do the right thing in the open house. And this came out of an issue we've had in the last few weeks, which is why this document has been implemented. And with a little input, if you agree to do the open house and you can't find someone else because you got sick, tell the listing agent immediately and help find your replacement. Okay? Do that preferably within 48 hours. Because they're doing a lot of pre-planning with their seller. If the seller's owner occupied and they're letting you come in and do the open house. If you borrow signs, bring them back. You know, you're responsible for that. If you agree to do an open house during a certain time, you cannot leave early, even if it is slow. So if you agree to do it 1 to 3, you're there 1 to 3. Be on time for your open house and set it up in advance of the allotted time, like 20 minutes before is best. Dress professionally for the open house. If you walk in and there might be some trash in there, take it out to the garbage. Follow COVID guidelines per seller's instructions. So right now, the open houses are guided by what the seller says needs to happen. Right now, everybody should be wearing a mask in an open house. But if the seller says we want it to be only limited to 2 people at one time, we want everything cleaned after each showing, then you need to get that information from the listing agent, because the seller has specific guidelines that they want to follow. Provide feedback to the listing agent within 24 hours of the open house, preferably by 8 or 9 a.m. the following day, so that they can provide that feedback to their seller. Common courtesy to do that, because that's what the seller wants to know, and the listing agent is counting on you to give that feedback so they can communicate to their seller. A printed feedback form emailed to the listing agent is best, and include the following, like number of open house attendees, breakdown of those visitings, people that visited, neighbors, actual buyers, agents with buyers, etc. Comments, feedback, questions from attendees like price, location, condition of property before open house, and at conclusion of locking up. Leave it in the same condition you found it. One of the #1 complaints from not just open houses, but when agents show property, sellers freak out to the listing agent because the agents, the buyer agent and the people that tour the house left the lights on, or let the dog out, or had sex on their bed. We've had that happen in San Diego, not in our office, but it has happened. Do not wait for the listing agent to call to give feedback. Ask them how they prefer to get the feedback and send it to them as soon as possible. Lock up all the doors exactly the way you found it. Secure the property at the end of the open house and return the key to the lockbox. And if you see something that would affect the value, safety, or success of the open house, success of the sale, please let the listing agent know immediately. Okay. And I know for some people that is pretty basic stuff, but if you're a brand new agent, and I tell this to the coaches, sometimes they don't know this. They're doing what they think they know, and unfortunately they don't. So I hope that helped clear that up. You're given a gift to allow to be doing an open house from a listing agent. So treat that gift with gold. Okay. That's it. I've jabbered a lot. And no, Ryan, you cannot text while I'm on my vacation just to say how it's going. If you're on the phone, if you're on the call. Ryan, are you on the call? The answer is no. N-O. Okay. All right. That's all I have, Mike. Back to you.
Thank you, Robert. So let's just acknowledge 2 things. Let's acknowledge how awesome Broker Bob is, first of all, like kind of give it up for Broker Bob. Secondly, he's going on vacation, in case you didn't hear. So just so you know, there it is. So guys, we have a lot of good intel to kind of put into play now. Broker Bob keeps us out of court. So follow what he is saying, guys. He's doing everything and works really hard to keep us just on top of everything.